The storms and trials of life will try to break you, but through Jesus Christ, you can go from broken to blessed.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Broken to Blessed. I am so excited to be with you today, and I'm hoping that you're having a wonderful day, and that if you're not having a wonderful day, that it's going to get better as you join me and my guest for this episode. I don't know how many of you got to see the episode last week, but I am back again this week with the honor and privilege of having Ashley Chambers with me. So, Ashley, thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome.
And I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
You're fine. I just appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, and she has been on, this is a few times she's been with me now, and I just love having her, and I know how much she blesses each of you with her love for the Lord and the wisdom that He has put into her. So we are going to talk today about a couple different things. We're going to talk about more along the lines of last week's episode, a little bit of abuse and the abuse she endured through her first marriage, and typically going to hit on emotional abuse, because I have had so many women talk to me in this ministry and come to me that really just brush off that emotional and mental abuse. Like, well, he doesn't hit me, so it's okay. He talks mean to me, he calls me names, he yells at me, but he doesn't hit me, so it's okay, it's not really abuse. But it is abuse, absolutely. When someone makes you feel like you're worthless and less than nothing and talks to you like you mean nothing to them, I think it's more damaging than physical abuse. Now, I know physical abuse, I'm not making light of that at all. I know that many women have even died by being physically, beaten to death, and it's a terrible thing. But I'm just saying that to say that emotional abuse, some women, if they don't get the help they need from the Lord, it's a lasting impact on them for the rest of their lives, because it gets down inside them and they can't get rid of it. They don't know how to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. So, Ashley, I know that you have dealt with that in your previous marriage. If you could talk to the women today and encourage them, maybe even share with them some things that you were told or things that were said to you or whatever you're comfortable sharing, and how it made you feel about yourself.
Okay. Well, I would like to say, first of all, that being in that situation, that you do bury it, you just brush it off. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you fail to recognize and realize that what you're hearing constantly is actually getting penetrated into your spirit and your soul, and it's what you're starting to believe about yourself. And so at first, you might just be like, shocked or offended and, not really pay that much attention to it. Yes. And then eventually you choose just to bury it. But what you don't realize is that it's becoming a part of who you are. And then you start down this complete insecurity path of just being completely insecure with who you are. You don't believe that you're worthy. You just believe that you're completely worthless, mm-hmm. and that there's no hope for you, and that you question everything that you do and everything that you say, and it causes you to be full of worry and fear. And so I was called all kinds of names. I was constantly, if I didn't do what he wanted me to do, when he wanted me to do it, and how he wanted it done. He would call me, just cuss words, the B word and all kinds of stuff. Yes. And just tell me, he would compare me to my birth mother. He would say, you're worthless and a piece of trash, just like your birth mom. You'll turn out just like she did. And I mean, to think, because, she lost custody of me for cruel and inhumane treatment. I don't think so. I would never treat my child that way. Yes. Or treat a human that way. And so I didn't believe that. That was one thing that he always tried to, say to me that I didn't believe. But the other things I did, because I grew up hearing certain things. And so when those are repeated by him, guess what? They're already established inside of me. Yes. I already believed that I was dumb, stupid, not capable. I already believed that I was ugly. And so whenever he would say things to me, I, of course, believed him. And so it just caused me to shut down. And I avoided relationships and friendships. And it actually, one of the biggest things, I guess, that I took out of that was all new to me, was I got a huge, fear of betrayal. Because he was unfaithful and emotionally abusive in other ways, but I had that I carried out of that marriage with me. And so I still today, in some aspects, have to deal with that because, it just destroys you.
Yes, it does. And I myself was very emotionally and verbally abused as a child. And, it's two totally different things when it's coming from a spouse and when it's coming from a parent. And, but it's damaging either way because, when you take those vows, then that spouse is supposed to be there forever to take care of you, to look after you. And especially when it's the man, he vows to protect you and to provide for you and to watch out for you, to always have your back. Well, a parent, it does the same thing. They're always supposed to have your back and always supposed to be there for you. So when you start really believing, I'm worthless, one big thing that I always heard is I'll never amount to anything. Mm-hmm. You're so wishy-washy. Why can't you just be a leader instead of a follower? And, of course, that was the devil because I am a leader and I'm not a follower. But the devil always tries to sabotage what God has. Mm-hmm. He'll tell you the direct opposite and try to get you to buy it. Yeah. And but that emotional abuse, it destroys your self-worth to, it really, and I still get kind of choked up sometimes talking about it, because to think that someone that's supposed to love you so much could think of you and talk to you like this. Mm-hmm. And they will purposely say things like about your birth mother. Yeah. They will purposely say the most hurtful, cruel, mm-hmm. evil things to just get you right in the heart where they know they're going to get you. And they'll just turn that knife deeper and deeper. Mm-hmm. And so there are ways that things you have to do. You have to, God is not a fairy. I've said that many times on this program. He's not going to tap you and say, well, you're all healed. Mm-hmm. This is it. No, it's a process. You walk it out. You work it out. You get in the Word. You transform your mind. And you find not your self-worth, but your God-worth. I know you've dealt with that.
Yes. And I like to call it, whenever people say you're confident, well, I don't think that. I think that I have Godfidence, and I've said that for a very long time, because my self-worth and my confidence comes from God and from Jesus and from the Word, and I know that, and I know who I was and where I came from, mm-hmm. and so that's what it is. And absolutely, just thinking about the things that are said to you and all of that. You have to be cautious, too, about sharing intimate details, which is horrible because that's supposed to be your spouse. Mm-hmm. But if you give them something, like you have a weakness and you're trying to work on it and they get upset at you, they're going to use that as ammunition. And that's not supposed to happen in a marriage. No. It's like he called me lazy all the time. Well, no, whenever I would eat dinner, I didn't want to immediately get up and, clean up the whole kitchen. I wanted to let my food digest and relax at the end of the day, because I was serving tables for hours and on my feet. There was nothing wrong with that. But because he called me lazy and he knew the verbiage to use to get to me, to play mind games, I believed it about myself. And I started to believe, well, if I sit down for 5 minutes, I'm lazy. And I thought that I had to constantly be up doing something. And that's a lie. And it's terrible because it completely transforms your thought process about yourself. It destroys your self-worth, and you don't have confidence at all. And it robs you of who God has made you to be. And that's not what God has for you. God has a good plan for your life. And for, it's hopeful, and he wants to give you a good future.
Yes,
and so I just want women to understand that, and I want to help people break free and to have the boldness and the courage to say, I'm going to do whatever's necessary to get out of this situation.
Yes. And there are steps. There are steps you have to take. There are things you have to do. I used to just pray. I don't know if you ever did, God, just make me normal. Just let all this leave me. Just let me wake up, because I was young and I didn't know any better. Just let me wake up one day and not remember that I've been through any of this. It don't work that way. You have to do the work. You have to put feet to your prayers. You have to do what you know to do. And, to just always, and prayer is great. I love to pray, and I get prayers answered when I pray, because we come from a church that our pastor teaches us how to get prayers answered. Yes. Our wonderful Pastor Nora is amazing. So, but you have to put action behind it. You yes. cannot just pray. You have to do things yourself. And, you have to get in the Word. You have to learn who God says you are. When you're told all the time you're trash, mm-hmm. you're low life, you'll never amount to anything, you're stupid, you're worthless, that's not what God says about you. And then you have to make the choice, not only when you read it and learn it in the Word, you have to make the choice to believe it. Mm-hmm. And to believe Him over what anyone else has said to you. You're nothing. No, I'm accepted in the Beloved. Yes. He loves me. I'm the apple of His eye, the Bible tells me. So, and I know we were talking earlier that you were saying that the same thing. You have to work it out.
Yeah, and it's, my biggest thing that I need women to understand is that it is hard. Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
Because you can take someone who is in an abusive relationship with a spouse or a boyfriend who is in poverty. You can have middle class and you can have upper class. You can have women who have husbands that are wealthy and in the public eye who have millions of dollars. Yes. And they can look at that and say, well, if I get out of this situation, I'm going to lose everything. That stuff doesn't matter. That's right. Because you were robbed of peace. You were robbed of your destiny. And you were actually, not fulfilling your calling and touching the people that you're supposed to touch for the kingdom purpose. Yes. And so you have to just eliminate all of those lies. And there will be people that will tell you to stay with people, especially if they have money. Yes. Or if they think that there's something there to hold on to. Well, don't do that because this. You don't want to start over. No, you want to follow the destiny and the path that God has designed for you. And other people aren't in it. It's very easy to say to somebody and to look from the outside and not know all the details and say, well, I don't think you should do that because you're not in it. You're not living in it, and you're not completely destroyed. And, especially if you have children, and sometimes always, you're so destroyed and you feel so hopeless and you don't have anything, you don't have any reason to escape. Well, what's the point? But you really do. And so if you have kids, do it for them. Yes. If you don't have any children, do it for your future. Yes. Because you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people that you're supposed to be influencing, and you have to break out of that they are not worth it. You cannot keep going like that, because in my situation it started out as one thing, and I'm telling you, by the end of it, it was a nightmare. I mean, he just did every single form of abuse that you could imagine to me, and I was completely destroyed. But I continued to stay in it, and you do have to make a choice. It's your choice. Yes. And you have to act on things. Hope and prayer, obviously dear to my heart, and I am on top of that, on fire for it, just like you, and just like we're taught. But we also know that there's action that goes behind that. Yes. Waiting on the Lord does not mean you pray and you throw your hands up and you're like, okay. No, it means in the meantime, while I'm waiting on you and anticipating and expecting you to act and work on my behalf on the earth, I'm going to do whatever I have to do in the natural to take the steps that I have to do to break free, to be healed, to recognize what I need to do to move forward, and for protection, because it doesn't always stop, and it will get worse, and it will end sometimes, like you said in the beginning, in death, and that's horrible to think about. And you don't ever think that it'll get to that point. Ask me in the beginning if I thought that he would ever get physically abusive with me, or ask me the questions or force me to do the things. No, I never would have imagined. Did I ever imagine that I would have been able to do those things? No, I didn't. But that's what you become. And so, it's dangerous. And you have to recognize it, recognize those red flags, and do what you have to do to get help. Offer for him to get help, pray for him. But if he's not willing, then you have to do something drastic. And you have to say, let me write me a list here. Is this really worth it? Is having material things that I cannot take with me, they're not making me happy, and I'm miserable, and I'm being destroyed. Is that really worth me staying here? The answer is no, absolutely not, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Every time the answer is no. Yes. And she's exactly right. And I know that I have talked with women that say, I can't go because I can't feed my kids. I have nowhere to stay. But you don't have a choice. You are, and I've even had women tell me, well, he doesn't hit the kids. No, but you're letting him right in front of your children destroy their mother. And you're teaching them the pattern of being an abuser. You're showing them that, hey, mom takes it, so it must be okay. Your daughter will take it, or your son could become an abuser. You have got to get out. There are shelters. There are, maybe not all of you, but a lot of you probably have family members or dear friends that would help you. Just don't get caught in an excuse. Mm-hmm. There are so many excuses in so many areas of life that we can make for ourselves. Don't get caught in an excuse and end up losing your life, or you don't even want to come close to the edge of losing your life. Get out while you can. Make that conscious choice. Pray for God to help you, give you the ways to get out, give you the means to get out, and he will. Mm-hmm. I know he will. And how do I know? Because he has helped me do things in my life that I never thought was possible. Yes. And I am sitting here talking to you today and doing Broken to Blessed ministry. And if you asked me even 5 years ago if I would ever do this, I would probably have laughed at you. God can do anything. He makes the impossible possible. So just pray to him and rely on him. And as Ashley said, get busy doing what you have to do and know to do in the natural. Yes. So we're getting ready to transition a little bit. Is there anything else you would like to add before we transition?
Yes, I do want to say that in order to act, that I teach this to my children, and I live this out myself. And every new friend or every woman that comes to me who's in a situation, I always tell them this. You always think about later now. Every decision, every choice that you make is laying the foundation brick by brick for your future. Yes. And so you owe that to yourself, and you owe that to your children, and you want them to see that, and you want them to see your courage in that and walking that out. And then I wanted to share Psalm 135. I think that this is a really great verse for people who are in this situation, just to commit it to scripture memory and just to put it in your heart so that you can confess that whenever needed. And it is, I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in his word I do hope. And so waiting, like I said, is not sitting back. It's actually, I'm gonna, my hope is in him and his word. I'm going to learn his word, but I'm also going to wait for him to act. But I'm going to do what it takes in the meantime to bring that, that forth.
Yes, because waiting is not passive.
No.
Waiting on God it's doing what you know to do. It's just not wringing your hands.
Yes. And
not worrying all the time. It's trusting him and doing what you know to do. You're working together, and it's going to come to pass.
Yes.
So that's very good. Psalm 135, you all should write that down, like she said, and speak that over yourself and get it down in you. And the reason that we're getting ready to transition is because I always like to do these episodes, whether it's just me or me and a guest, I want you to hear what they've been through, but I also want you to hear what the Lord has done for them and where the Lord has brought them now, because there is freedom from everything. There is healing from everything, because we serve such an amazing, good God that loves us so much. And the one thing that I would like to talk about in these last few minutes we have with Ashley is, when you come from such abuse and such betrayal and such heartache, a lot of times you close yourself off, you isolate yourself, and you close your heart up. You close it up so tight that God sometimes can't get in, let alone anyone else. And I know that you went through that, I'm sure. Just keep me away from everybody. I'm better off alone. But the Lord brought you through that, because now you're in a 10-year marriage with beautiful children, a wonderful husband that just thinks you're the greatest thing ever. And so what did that look like for you? Because I think so many watching today, their hearts are closed. How do you open your heart back up to be truly loved by someone?
Okay, well, it takes trusting God and softening your heart toward Him to allow Him to show you what love is. And then what I did was I sought out Christian therapy, and I went and talked to someone, and she gave me the best advice that I've ever had. And she told me, what I want you to do is I want you to go home and you need to make a list of 10 deal breakers. And they need to be serious deal breakers. You need to really think about it, meditate on it, and pray about it. And she said, I want you to write down 10 things that are deal breakers. And if you even meet a guy and he has one of the deal breakers, you break it off, you stop it. But see, once again, that took me making a choice.
Absolutely.
Because I could have had that list, and I could have said, well, I didn't want a smoker, or I didn't want a drinker, but he drinks just on occasion. No, I didn't. Yes. I was serious about my future. Not so much serious about a mate yet, but I was serious about my future. I had cried out to God and told Him that I didn't want Him to send me another man in my life, period, unless it was my husband that He had for me, and I meant it, and He knew I did. I mean, I was in just a panic attack with it. And then I wrote 10 things that were not that were must-haves, and I had a child. I was a single mom, and I'm going to tell you, I thought that was a deal breaker for everybody. I was like, there is no way that anybody's going to think that I am marriage material because I'm a single mom, and that was not true, thankfully. And then I wrote five things that would be just fun things to have, and I stuck to that. I carried that list with me, and I stuck to it. And I met Tim, shortly after that, and he was different. He just had a different spirit about him, and I knew, but I didn't jump in. I was dead set on, trusting God here and trusting my list. And so on our first date, and it was really interesting because God had already prepared him for the same thing. He had questions for me too. And I said to him, here's the deal. I have deal breakers. And if you fit into that category, as much fun as I've had, because I was so guarded on that date, even though he was so wonderful. And I was like, this is how a woman's supposed to be treated. But I knew, I was like, even if he's not supposed to be my spouse, God has prepared me and showed me that this is how I'm supposed to be treated. Yes. Like a lady and like a woman, with respect and honor. And I'm not an object, And so I told him what they were, and he told me what his deal breakers were. And the rest is history, Yes. 10 years later.
That's amazing. So, I know many of you watching have been brutally hurt and broken to the core of your being. And Ashley has been, and I have been. But we sit here before you as testimony of a great, loving, awesome God. And I can't even put into words that if you will put your life into His hands and truly trust Him. And I know if you've been hurt and betrayed by a parent, by a spouse, by a fiance, whatever the case is, it's hard for you to trust even God at times. But He will never let you down. He will never hurt you. He only has your best interest in His heart, not His own, as many people do, your best interest. So just give Him that opportunity to show you what He can do with your life. And a year from now, I guarantee you, you won't recognize yourself, because that's how good He is.
Yes.
And I mean, just tell them, Ashley, in just a minute or so, how beautiful your life is now. Like, you have children.
Yeah.
You just bought a new home.
Yes. So my life looks like everything that is just, I don't know, out of a book, I guess.
Out of a fairy tale.
Yeah, and I never imagined ever that my life would look like that. I would dream about it as a little girl, but I never thought that I would ever achieve it. And so, you know, I'm married. My husband's a police officer, and so that has its own, you know, category in itself. But we are living proof that it can be done. And so we are just each other's biggest supporters, encouragers, cheerleaders. We truly love each other. We both seek the Lord first and foremost, and we are, you know, determined and dedicated to one another, and we look out for one another. And we have 5 children, 5 beautiful children that range from 1 up to 14, and Amelia is the 14-year-old. And we bought a new home that has enough space for a large family in Maryville. You know, Tim wanted to get back to his roots, and it's just it's wonderful. I mean, I guess for me, there's such peace in my home and in my life. That's how I walk securely in the Lord, is because, and there's just such peace all the time. Yes. And God has really given me good, godly discernment. You know, Tim has a gift of discernment. I didn't. But, you know, God has given me that so that I now know how to recognize things. And He has given me so much spiritually that I never thought that I would have, that has just made my life so beautiful. So it's more than just, you know, the physical, tangible things. It's also the physical stuff and the peace and the joy that you get from living in Him.
Absolutely, yes. And so, you know, the ones of you that have been through so much, we just pray for you right now in Jesus' name that the Lord will heal you, will deliver you, will make you completely whole in the name of Jesus, and will give you the life that looks like it's right out of a fairy tale. And if you need to accept Jesus, I just pray you do that right now. Just ask Him to come into your heart and live with you. Do this life with you and be with you, and He will. So I hope that these last couple episodes have truly blessed you and helped you. Have a great day, and just remember, you can always go from broken to blessed.